The year was 2150 and humanity had reached beyond Earth, carving out a place among the stars. On the vibrant, forested planet of Varela, renowned for its breathtaking biodiversity and the highly intelligent Ilani species, Captain Ethan Cole stood at the forefront of this new interstellar era. Today, he was not just an ambassador of Earth, he was a bridge between two civilizations. The hum of the spacecraft's engines faded as Ethan and his crew disembarked onto the mysterious surface of Varela. The air was heavy with the sweet scent of alien flora and the sky glowed with a soft, lavender hue. Ethan adjusted his uniform, feeling the weight of responsibility as he glanced at his second-in-command, Lieutenant Marcus Lyle, who was busy calibrating their communication device. "Everything looks good, Captain. Ready for the initial meeting?" Marcus asked, his voice steady but filled with a hint of excitement. "Let's do this," Ethan replied, his heart racing. "Remember, it's about mutual understanding. We're here to connect, not to impose." As they approached the designated meeting spot, they were greeted by a delegation of Ilani diplomats. At the forefront was Lyra, an exceptional representative known for her intelligence and grace. Her iridescent skin shimmered in the light, reflecting the vibrant colors of her surroundings. Ethan marveled at her presence, feeling an inexplicable pull toward her. "Welcome, Captain Cole," Lyra said, her voice melodic. "We are honored by your presence." "Thank you, Lyra." "The honor is ours," Ethan replied, meeting her gaze. An electric moment lingered in the air, but protocol held them back. They settled into a clearing surrounded by towering, bioluminescent trees, their roots intertwining like a vibrant tapestry. Lyra gestured for the crew to sit on woven mats made from local fibers. Ethan couldn't shake the feeling of being enveloped in an ancient yet welcoming atmosphere. "Today marks a new chapter for both our peoples," Lyra began, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. "Together we will explore opportunities for cooperation and understanding." "Exactly," Ethan nodded. "We must learn from each other. The universe is vast, and together we can achieve great things." As the discussions began, they explored topics from technology to ecology, their dialogue flowing freely. Ethan found himself fascinated by the Ilani's way of life. They relied heavily on empathy, able to communicate emotions through shared feelings. It was a concept foreign to him but invigorating. "Imagine," Lyra said, her voice softer now, "if we could truly feel each other's joys and sorrows. A world where misunderstanding ceases to exist." "It sounds incredible," Ethan admitted. "But how do you manage the complexities that come with such connection?" Lyra hesitated, glancing at her fellow diplomats. "It's not always easy. Emotions can be overwhelming, but they also create bonds that run deep." "Perhaps we can learn from one another," Ethan suggested. "In humanity, we tend to overanalyze. Connecting on that level might help us to see beyond ourselves." "Perhaps," Lyra mused, her gaze lingering on Ethan. "But first, we must solidify a foundation." Suddenly, the ground shuddered beneath them. A low rumble vibrated through the air, causing leaves to rustle and sending small creatures scurrying. Eyes widened, and everyone instinctively looked to Ethan for guidance. "What was that?" Marcus exclaimed, his hands clenched in disbelief. "An aftershock from the recent seismic event," Lyra explained, frowning. "It seems the disturbance is ongoing. We need to establish a safety protocol," Ethan stated, keeping his voice calm. "Lyra, can you guide us to a secure location?" "Follow me." Lyra led the way, her movements nimble and graceful. As they navigated the twisting paths, Ethan marveled at the way she confidently maneuvered through the dense foliage. After what felt like too long, they reached a dense thicket where the trees stood tall and strong, providing a canopy over their heads. Ethan took a moment to survey the area, recognizing it as a natural refuge. Just as they settled into the space, another tremor shook the ground. "Everyone stay close," Ethan shouted, glancing at Lyra, who seemed unbothered by the chaos. "We can't let panic take over." "Captain, there's a hidden cave nearby." Lyra pointed towards the thicket's edge. "It can shelter us until the tremors cease." "Lead the way," he instructed, feeling a rush of admiration for her composure amidst the turmoil. They hurried towards the cave. Inside, the atmosphere felt serene despite the chaos outside. Crystals embedded in the walls glittered, casting soft reflections. Ethan allowed everyone to gather at the back, sensing the need for camaraderie. "Is everyone okay?" Ethan asked. "I'm fine," Marcus shrugged. though his voice betrayed a note of anxiety. Lyra turned towards him. "Your presence is strong, Captain. We are safe here for now." Ethan found solace in her words, but worry simmered beneath the surface. What if this continues? We need to find a way to stabilize the situation. Lyra nodded. Our scientists are capable of analyzing the disturbances, but we cannot do this alone. Then let's work together. You have my support, Ethan vowed, his determination clear. As they discussed strategies, Ethan decided to offer some comfort. He reached into his emergency pack. "Here," he said, presenting the blanket he had kept for emergencies. "This is for you, Lyra. It might not seem like much, but it symbolizes safety, warmth, and solidarity." Lyra accepted the blanket with a soft gasp. "You would give me this? Carries your essence as a human." "It does. And I believe a little warmth can bring us all closer together." She wrapped the blanket around her shoulders, and something shifted in the energy around them. Ethan watched her smile. It's as if he had offered her the universe itself. "Thank you, Captain," Lyra said, her eyes bright. "This means more than you know." "Then let's make sure the bond we forge expands beyond this moment," Ethan replied, feeling the weight of their connection grow. As laughter erupted from the other crew members, Ethan and Lyra exchanged glances, unaware that this seemingly trivial gift would change the trajectory of their peoples forever. In that quiet cave, amid the chaos, a bond began to weave itself, an alliance that would reverberate across galaxies. Chapter 2: A Shared Mission. Days passed since the seismic disturbance had rocked Varela, and though the immediate threat had subsided, a new chapter unfolded for Captain Ethan Cole and the Alani. The bond formed in the cave solidified during follow-up meetings, and both cultures found themselves dedicated to forging a collaborative future. On a crisp morning, Ethan stepped out of his quarters, greeted by the invigorating alien air. He headed to the makeshift command center where Marcus was already poring over data collected from the recent earthquakes. "Hey, Cap, you've got to see this," Marcus called, glancing up from the screen. "The seismic readings suggest the disturbances originate deep below the surface, maybe even from a fault line we didn't know existed." Ethan frowned. "Are the local scientists able to analyze this data?" "They're working on it," Marcus replied, tapping his finger against the screen. "But they could use our input. Maybe we should ask Lyra and her team for more information." "Get her on the line," Ethan said, feeling a sense of urgency. It wasn't long before Lyra appeared on the monitor, her presence radiating kindness in her luminous features. "Captain, what brings you to contact us this early?" "Good morning, Lyra," Ethan said, a smile creeping onto his face. "We've been discussing the seismic activity. Marcus has gathered some data we think might help." "I'm glad you reached out." She leaned closer to the screen, interest piqued. "What did you discover?" "Marcus believes the tremors stem from below the surface, maybe even from an unexplored fault line," Ethan replied, watching her expression shift. "We could coordinate with your scientists to explore further." Lyra's eyes widened, and she nodded enthusiastically. "An excellent idea. I'll arrange for our team to meet you at the research center. It's important we understand the reason for these disturbances. Our people rely on harmony with the planet." "Great," Ethan said. "What time? Let's say in 2 hours? This will give me time to gather the relevant scientists." "Perfect. We'll see you soon," he said, disconnecting the link. "That went well," Marcus observed. "You seem pretty optimistic about this collaboration." "I just feel like we're moving in the right direction," Ethan replied, glancing out at the vibrant landscape. "The more we involve them, the more trust we build." As preparation began, Ethan gathered his team and the Alani scientists at their research center, a stunning structure that harmonized with the surrounding environment made from local materials that reflected nature's curves. The Alani had developed this facility for studying their planet, and Ethan was eager to see it in action. Lyra greeted Ethan and his crew at the entrance, flanked by her fellow scientists who each wore uniforms tailored for practical work. "Welcome. We're ready to get started." "Thanks for having us," Ethan said, leading the group inside. The lab was filled with screens displaying an array of data points, and the air hummed with energy. Lyra began the meeting. Today, we have the opportunity to combine our strengths. Let's address the seismic activity hidden. Ethan gestured to Marcus. He'll explain what we've found so far. Okay, Marcus said, stepping forward with confidence. We've been monitoring the tremors over the past few days. Based on our analysis, we've identified a pattern indicating a potential fault line that runs through a portion of the terrain. Interesting, one of the Alani scientists, a tall figure with vibrant orange hues, responded. Are you suggesting it may affect our colony? Precisely, Marcus nodded. We should consider surveying the area, but we'd need your assistance for ground access. Your knowledge of the terrain will be invaluable. Lyra exchanged glances with her colleagues before replying, I will lead the expedition. My team is well-versed in navigating our landscapes. This will allow us to pinpoint the exact location of the disturbances. Ethan felt a surge of confidence. That sounds promising. Together, we'll gather the information we need to assess the risks. How soon can we get started? Today, Lyra replied, her eyes sparkling with determination. We'll need some supplies. I suggest we prepare for potential weather changes. Not a problem, we've got supplies on the ship, Ethan assured her. Let's gather what we need and we can head out within the hour. As they organized the logistics, energy pulsed through the laboratory. Ethan found himself drawn to Lyra, who was energetically communicating with her team. There was something magnetic about her enthusiasm that captivated him. Hey, Ethan, you good? Marcus nudged him. Yeah, just Ethan hesitated, momentarily lost in thought. It just feels surreal being part of something like this. Looks like you have a soft spot for the Alani, Marcus winked, chuckling lightly. What? No, Ethan replied defensively, though he felt a warmth at the suggestion. It's just, they have a way of connecting that we could learn from. You're right, Marcus shrugged. Never thought I'd see the day you'd be woefully contemplative over an alien. Ethan rolled his eyes but couldn't suppress a smile. As they loaded the supplies into transport vehicles, the atmosphere buzzed with excitement. Lyra teamed up with Ethan, packing gear side by side. Do you always work this closely with your team? She asked, her curiosity evident. Depends on the situation, Ethan replied. But I think collaboration is crucial to understand each other. Exactly. It's the core of our communication, she noted, meeting his gaze. It's refreshing to work alongside someone who truly values partnership. Ethan felt a warmth spread in his chest as he held her gaze. I'm glad you feel that way. All right, everyone. To the transport. Lyra called, breaking the moment. They climbed into the vehicles, Ethan and Lyra seated beside one another. As they traveled through the lush landscapes, the scenery transformed from vibrant forests to rugged rocky terrains, revealing the planet's diverse beauty. So, tell me more about your people, Lyra prompted, her interest genuine. What do humans value most? Ethan pondered for a moment. Well, we value innovation and progress. We strive to understand the universe and improve existence for ourselves. And what do you seek personally? She asked, her eyes glinting with curiosity. Connection, he admitted, surprising himself. I want to find meaning beyond just exploration, interpersonal relationships, perhaps. Lyra smiled thoughtfully, brushing her fingers across the blanket draped over her lap. You already have that with us. This partnership might evolve into something extraordinary. Before he could reply, the transport hit a bump, diverting their attention. Lyra laughed and Ethan joined in, the light-hearted moment easing the tension of their mission ahead. As they approached the suspected fault line, a sense of anticipation filled the air. Each team member prepared to play their part in uncovering the mysteries below the surface. Stepping out of the vehicle, Ethan exchanged a determined glance with Lyra. Let's get to work. Together, we'll ensure both of our peoples can thrive. With resolute nods, they set off toward an unknown future, ready to explore what awaited them in both the depths of the planet and their growing relationship. Chapter 3, Bridging Worlds. The sun hung low in the Varela sky, casting long shadows across the rugged terrain as Ethan and Lyra led their respective teams towards the suspected fault line. The atmosphere buzzed with anticipation and purpose, a tangible excitement that could only come from the prospect of discovery. As they progressed, the landscape seemed to shift and breathe with them. Varela was alive, and both teams felt it in their bones. Ethan checked the readings on his handheld device, which displayed geological data from the previous seismic events. Looks like we're getting close, he called out to Lyra, who walked beside him, her eyes scanning the environment with keen interest. Good, she replied. One of my colleagues suggested that we set up a few sensors along the way to collect readings of any underground shifts. Great idea, Ethan said, signaling to Marcus to bring over the sensor equipment. Tell your team we'll need to spread out our coverage. Lyra smiled, clearly pleased. I'll let them know. Collaboration is going to make this much easier. As the teams worked to set up sensors, Ethan found himself stealing glances at Lyra. There was a rhythm to her movements, a fluidity that captivated him. She was confident, capable, and infectious in her enthusiasm. Do you always coordinate team efforts like this? Ethan asked as they installed the devices together. Absolutely, she answered, concentrating on aligning the sensor correctly. It's essential for my people. When we work together, we strengthen our bonds. Each role is vital. As she spoke, Ethan remembered the warmth of the blanket he had given her. Speaking of bonds, he said lightly, do you think sharing items, like that blanket, has the same effect? Lyra paused, looking thoughtful. In our culture, yes. Intrinsically linking emotions with objects can transmit empathy. Do humans have something similar? Ethan nodded. Gramps used to give me his old pocket watch. It wasn't just a timepiece, it represented our family history and the times he'd shared with me. In that sense, it carried the weight of love and connection. I love that, Lyra said, her eyes brightening. We establish connections through stories and sentiment. Suddenly, a loud crack echoed in the distance, cutting through their conversation. The ground trembled slightly beneath their feet and both teams froze. Was that another quake? Marcus asked, his voice tense. It could be connected to the fault line, Ethan replied. We should alert everyone to stay sharp. No sense taking unnecessary risks. Agreed, Lyra said, her expression serious. We need to gather our data and be ready to relocate if necessary. With renewed urgency, they continued working, but a sense of unease lingered. The tremors had become too consistent, making Ethan uneasy. He caught Lyra glancing at him, worry etched on her face. Is everything all right? She asked gently. Just thinking, he admitted. What if the fault line proves to be more dangerous than we anticipated? Our scientists need to know what they're dealing with. Lyra nodded, biting her lip. We should prepare a contingency plan, just in case. How do you suggest we approach it? Let's designate a retreat route for both our teams so we can respond quickly if needed, Ethan proposed. It might also be wise to keep communication lines open in case the tech fails. Good idea. I'll assign Ilani to monitor the readings continuously, Lyra affirmed. And we'll keep our teams close to each other to maintain constant communication. Once they had set their plans into motion, the group resumed their work, tension hanging in the air. Ethan felt invigorated by the collaborative spirit, a fusion of human tenacity and Ilani empathy. As they positioned the final sensor, a subtle shift in the ground reverberated through the air. The nervous chatter between team members started once again. We might not be as safe as we thought. Marcus said, eyes wide. Everyone, stay calm. Ethan shouted, forcing authority into his voice. Continue monitoring those sensors, but keep alert. Lyra turned to him, her gaze unwavering. What's our next move? Ethan ran a hand through his hair, taking a deep breath. I think we should get the data we can while we still have time. We need to gather as much information as possible. With both teams steeled for action, they continued their monitoring. As readings began to filter through, Ethan leaned in closer to Lyra. Let's analyze the data together. I want to ensure we're on the same page. Agreed, she replied, her focus honing in. As they worked side by side, Ethan felt that magnetic pull once more, a synergy that grew stronger with each passing moment. Here, Lyra said, pointing to the screen. See the spike? It corresponds with recent tremors. It suggests something below is shifting. It's consistent, Ethan noted, toggling through the data. But it appears to be increasing in intensity. Lyra frowned, her fingers tapping thoughtfully against her leg. We may have to issue a warning and prepare for contingencies. Working on that, Marcus called over. But we might need a more detailed assessment before making any decisions. Ethan nodded, glancing back at Lyra. Let's push for that analysis, then. They worked tirelessly, checking calculations and exchanging ideas, their voices blending as they became immersed in their efforts. Ethan felt a sense of camaraderie building, transcending spoken words. Just then, the ground jolted again, a more significant shake that sent equipment rattling and loose rocks tumbling. Instantly, Lyra's eyes widened. Get everyone together. Ethan. Voice a steady anchor in the chaos. As they made their way back through the treacherous terrain, Ethan could feel the ground shifting beneath him. It increased his resolve to protect those around him. Stick together, he called, glancing back to ensure his team was close behind. The Ilani moved with an agility that impressed him, navigating the rocky outcrops faster than he could have anticipated. Almost there. Lyra shouted encouragingly, her energy infectious. Through the rising tension, Ethan caught her eye, and in that split second, he felt both the weight of their mission and an undeniable connection. It was strange and exhilarating, an unbreakable bond forged in the fires of collaboration. With the transport in view, they literally dashed to safety, the vehicle becoming a sanctuary from the uncertainties outside. Once inside, Ethan exhaled, allowing the moment of respite to wash over him. Did everyone make it? He asked, surveying both teams. Here, Captain. Marcus confirmed, his face flushed but assured. We're all present. Good, Ethan replied, relief flooding through him. Lyra, are your team members secure? Yes, she said, visibly shaken but determined. All accounted for. As the vehicles rumbled to life and prepared for takeoff, Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that their connection was deeper than shared tasks. In that moment, surrounded by uncertainty, he realized how invaluable this partnership had become, not just for their mission, but for his own spirit. Thank you for leading us, Ethan said, turning to Lyra, sincerity lacing his voice. Your presence definitely kept us grounded. She met his gaze, and for a brief moment, the chaos around them faded into the background. Only because you inspired confidence in me, Ethan. With that acknowledgement, they knew this was more than merely an alliance. It was a promise to forge ahead together no matter what awaited them in the depths of their journey. Chapter 4, The Moment of Truth. The atmosphere in the transport was thick with tension as Ethan and Lyra's teams huddled together, their hearts racing from the recent tremors. The rugged landscape of Varela blurred by outside the window, a constant reminder of their perilous situation. Ethan focused on the readings flashing on the monitor. Let's get a status update while we can, he said, meeting Lyra's gaze. What's our next move? Lyra nodded, her expression serious. We need to analyze the data and regroup. If that last quake indicates a more significant risk, we can't underestimate it. Marcus, pull up the latest readings, Ethan instructed. He glanced at Lyra. Let's see what we're dealing with. As the screens flickered to life, Marcus began relaying the findings. The data indicate increased seismic activity. The fault line shows signs of further instability. We should consider a precautionary withdrawal from zones near the fault. I recommend heading back to the research center for further analysis. Lyra frowned, her brow furrowed with concern. We're losing valuable time if we retreat now. What if we revisit the sensor data and pinpoint the most unstable areas for immediate study? Is it safe enough? Ethan asked, raising an eyebrow. I believe we can manage it effectively, Lyra replied, her confidence unshakable. This partnership is based on trust. I'm willing to put my people at risk only if we proceed with caution. Ethan felt a swell of admiration. Then we work together. I'll switch our focus to the most concerning readings, but let's keep communication open and prepare for anything. Agreed. If we spot levels that escalate, we retreat immediately, Lyra assured him. We need each other's strengths in this. With a battle plan set, Marcus adjusted the coordinates based on the sensor readings while Lyra coordinated with her team. The transport raced towards their destination, the vibration of the vehicle melding with the excitement in the air. Minutes later, they arrived at a small valley surrounded by jagged rocks and bioluminescent flora. Ethan could see the data readings spiking high close to the cliff's edge. This is it, Marcus said as they disembarked. Watch your step, the ground could be unstable here. Right, Ethan replied, scanning the area. Let's set up our monitoring equipment along this line, paying close attention to those spikes. Lyra, will your scientists help with analysis? Of course, she replied, her demeanor focused. Let's divide our teams to maximize efficiency. My people will handle the sensors while your team monitors readings. Sounds good, Ethan confirmed. I'll oversee the data collection on the side. As they set to work, Ethan couldn't shake the underlying tension that twisted in his gut, a sixth sense urging caution. Do you feel that? He asked Lyra, who was bent over one of the sensors. Feel what? She replied, glancing up. Might just be me, but the air feels different. Heavier, Ethan said. Lyra considered his words, letting the silence stretch between them. We're near a fault line. The energy here can fluctuate. Keep a watchful eye. It's wise to heed intuition. Ethan respected her insight, feeling the rhythm of her empathetic presence near him. I trust your instincts. As Lyra adjusted a sensor, Ethan took a moment to admire the bond that had formed. They had crossed the line from strangers to colleagues, united in a shared mission. Funny, isn't it? He remarked lightly, breaking the tension. Not long ago, we were just trying to establish diplomacy. Lyra looked up, her vibrant eyes meeting his. Life often brings unexpected connection. I never anticipated to be here with you, do you? Not at all, Ethan admitted. But I'm grateful, oddly enough. Gratitude helps forge stronger connections, Lyra said, then turned back to her work, her fingers dancing over the buttons. Moments trickled by as the teams worked diligently. The softer sounds of machinery blended with the crisp rustle of leaves. Ethan found himself increasingly aware of Lyra, her focused energy radiating health and determination. I feel like we're getting somewhere, he noted as their data began streaming in real time. Indeed, she said, checking the readings. There are some anomalies, but the fluctuations seem reasonable for this area. Suddenly, a deeper rumble reverberated through the ground, more intense than before. It sent shivers down their spines, and both Ethan and Lyra exchanged alarmed glances. "Everyone, to the transport!" Ethan shouted, his heart racing. "We need to regroup and assess." Lyra nodded, her eyes wide with concern. "Quickly, everyone! Stay close!" As the team scrambled back towards the transport, Ethan's breath quickened. The ground shuddered again as if responding to their movements. "Is this the tremor you felt earlier?" Lyra called, sprinting beside him. "Yes," he replied, adrenaline pulsing through him. "It's intensifying." When they reached the transport, Marcus was already inside, urgently typing codes into the system to track the data. "Did everyone make it?" Ethan called, scanning the area. "We're all here," Marcus confirmed. Lyra rushed in and slammed the door shut. "We need to analyze the latest data immediately." "I suspect." Before she could finish, another violent quake rattled the vehicle. They all gripped their seats, panic flaring momentarily. "Hold on!" Ethan yelled, heart racing. He glanced around, eyes wide with urgency. "We're still connected to the sensors. Let's see what they're reading right now." "I'm working on it." Getting live feedback, Marcus shouted, tapping furiously on the screens. "Hold still." They waited, breath held, as the screens processed the incoming data. "Levels are spiking off the charts," Marcus exclaimed, eyes fixed on the screen, horrified. "We have to leave now. This is serious." "Then let's go." Ethan barked. "Lyra, your team needs to gather their equipment now. We're moving." Within moments, chaos erupted as the Alani scrambled to collect their sensors, their expressions a mix of fear and urgency. "Quick, team!" Lyra called to her scientists. "Everything you can grab." Ethan felt his heart race faster, adrenaline coursing through him as he helped load the last of their equipment. "Let's get out of here. Everyone, into the transport." Panic seized him, but he forced it down, focusing on the task at hand. He couldn't lose anyone, not now. "Everyone secure?" he yelled as they piled into the vehicle, looking frantically around. "Yes," Marcus hollered back. "But we need to get moving, like yesterday." As Ethan signaled for the pilot to navigate the path, another quake hit, this one more violent than the last. The ground split slightly beneath the transport and a sudden wave of energy jolted through the vehicle. "Go! Go! Go!" Ethan shouted, his heart racing. The pilot slammed the throttle and the vehicle lurched forward. Outside, the ground began to crack as the landscape shifted perilously. Lyra was glued to the monitor, her keen gaze absorbing the readings. "This is not good," she murmured. "Just hold on," Ethan instructed, muscles tense. "We're almost clear of the worst." As they sped away from the unstable area, the rumbling grew quieter, but the tension remained heavy in the transport. Ethan turned to Lyra, their eyes locking for a brief moment, and he saw a reflection of his own unease. "Are you all right?" he asked, realizing how much her presence had anchored him. "I am now," she replied, her determination resurfacing. "But we need to identify what just happened. This wasn't just a tremor." "Agreed," Ethan thought, his mind racing. They needed answers. In that chaos, time seemed to compress, and as they pushed forward, the bond forged in their shared trials only grew stronger. Even as uncertainty loomed, Ethan felt a flicker of something else, a deep-rooted trust, the promise of partnership blooming amid turmoil. Together, they would face whatever challenges lay ahead. Chapter 5, A New Alliance. The air inside the transport was thick with tension, the aftermath of their harrowing escape still lingering. Ethan sat with Lyra just across the monitor, their eyes glued to the data streaming in. After narrowly avoiding the seismic upheaval, everyone needed to regroup and assess their next steps. "Let's evaluate what we've got," Marcus said, his voice steadying the growing apprehension. "If we don't understand the cause of these tremors, we won't know how to proceed." "I can pull up the latest sensor data," Lyra offered, fingers flying over the console as she set to work. "We need to get as much information as possible." Ethan leaned forward, watching the data swirl across the screen. "Marcus, what were the readings just before the quake happened?" "Everything seemed stable before that last spike. Then it all changed in an instant," Marcus replied, his brow furrowed. "It's almost as if the Earth had a sudden surge of energy." Lyra's eyes widened as she processed the maps. "It could be indicative of underground movements we didn't account for, a buildup of pressure or magma flow. We should return to the original site for a more thorough probe." "Do you think it's safe?" Ethan asked. "After what just happened, it might be better to proceed cautiously." Lyra met his gaze, determination in her expression. "I understand the risks, but if we back away now, we lose the chance to understand what's truly happening here. My people depend on a stable environment." "Ethan, she's right," Marcus interjected, glancing between them. "We need to assess what's going on before it escalates. Ignoring it could lead to bigger problems." Ethan took a deep breath. All right, we'll go back, but we'll set clear protocols and we won't take unnecessary risks. As they approached their original base, the sky darkened, mirroring the tension in the air. Ethan turned to Lyra, the weight of their situation pressing down on him. You've got confidence in this, don't you? Confidence stems from understanding, she replied softly. We can do this together. Then together we will, he promised, feeling an unspoken bond strengthen between them. Once they arrived, the teams unloaded their equipment, carefully working in tandem to set up sensors once again. The atmosphere shifted, everyone watching each other closely as if waiting for the ground to shake again. Let's establish a secure perimeter first, Ethan instructed, glancing around. Lyra, can your team help us review the readings while we prep the area? Absolutely, she affirmed, her voice steady. As their teams worked, they fell into a rhythm, sharing frequent glances and small smiles. Ethan could feel a growing camaraderie. It had transformed from simple partnership into something more meaningful, and he appreciated every moment of it. They're settling in well, Marcus noted with a grin. You and Lyra are really making this a seamless operation. Ethan chuckled, shaking his head. We have to. There's just too much at stake. Lyra approached, her eyes alight with energy. The data from the previous events may reveal an underlying pattern. If we analyze this carefully, we could pinpoint the epicenter of the disturbances. Let's do it, Ethan replied, gesturing for her to come closer to the main screen. As they dived into the analysis, Ethan felt exhilaration surge through him. Their combined efforts brought forth a clarity that neither had anticipated. Look here, Lyra pointed to the chart displayed on the screen. These spikes occur at consistent intervals. There might be a natural cause, a geological event that just needs further investigation. Or something deeper, like a hidden fault. Ethan speculated, his mind racing. If we can confirm what's causing these disturbances, we can better prepare both our people and yours. Marcus leaned over their shoulders, intrigued. You're onto something. If we identify the source of pressure, it may not only stabilize this region, but lead us to solutions for other potential seismic activities. A determined light sparked in Lyra's eyes. Then let's keep pushing forward. With a new sense of purpose, they gathered their equipment and divided into two teams. One to continue monitoring the ongoing readings, and the other to scout the surrounding areas. Ethan paired with Lyra, and the two of them moved through the rough terrain, each step resonating with the heightened stakes. Together, we'll find a way to understand it, Ethan declared, watching as she effortlessly navigated the rocky ground ahead. Lyra glanced back at him, her expression guarded but hopeful. Your belief in this mission is admirable, Ethan. I can feel the trust growing, and that is invaluable. He smiled, his heart racing. That trust will only help us in this endeavor. As they traversed rocky outcrops, Ethan found himself increasingly attuned to Lyra's presence. Each shared laugh and every fleeting moment rippled with the potential for something deeper. There's beauty in chaos, isn't there? Lyra mused as they stopped to survey a breathtaking view of the valley below where bioluminescent plants illuminated the night. Definitely, Ethan agreed, searching her face. It's through these moments of pressure we often find strength, wouldn't you say? Yes, she reflected, her gaze locked with his. Not just in nature, but in relationships too. Before Ethan could respond, a rush of static crackled through their communication devices, drawing everyone's attention. Ethan, Lyra, come in, Marcus's voice came through, shaky. We're reading some anomalous data. You need to get back here now. On our way. Ethan replied, exchanging alarmed looks with Lyra as they moved quickly back toward camp. Inside the main tent, Marcus was typing furiously, data streaming across the screen in a frantic rhythm. We're detecting a strong increase in seismic readings, Marcus reported, his brow furrowed. It's coming from the fault line. Is it reacting to our presence? Ethan asked, alarmed. Possibly, Marcus said. But it looks like something is building up. It demands immediate attention. You can't mean, Lyra began, her eyes widening. I do, Marcus said firmly. If we don't evacuate now, we risk losing valuable equipment and possibly our safety. Ethan swallowed hard, fear tightening its grip. What are the options? How much time do we have? Maybe 20 minutes before it peaks, Marcus said, his tone urgent. We should relocate everyone to a safer area. Lyra's voice cut through the tension. Agreed. We can analyze the data from a distance. Our priority needs to be the safety of both our teams. Let's execute a rapid evacuation, Ethan instructed, adrenaline coursing through him. We'll set a new perimeter as soon as we're clear. As all teams scrambled to gather their gear and equipment, Ethan felt the weight of their urgency. Lyra moved deftly between them, her calm presence keeping everyone focused. Stay together, everyone, she called out, rallying her team with commands and direction. We will regroup and plan next steps. Ethan kept close, ensuring no one was left behind. As they made their way to the transport, he felt the ground shudder again, sending another pulse of urgency through him. Quickly! We have to move, he yelled, pushing forward. Once they all boarded the transport, the tension was electric. Marcus piloted swiftly, charting the path as the team settled in. Get us out of here, Ethan shouted, gripping a harness as the vehicle sped away from the instability. Lyra sat beside him, turning slightly to face him. Ethan, thank you for your leadership. You've kept us all together. Couldn't have done it without you, he admitted sincerely, eyes locked on hers. This is our partnership, one forged through trust and mutual respect. As the transport rumbled over the uneven terrain, an undeniable bond had formed between them, reinforced by shared experiences and determination. While the path ahead may still hold uncertainty, they knew together they could navigate through it all. With relief washing over him as they put distance between themselves and the fault, Ethan felt invigorated. They were not merely allies anymore, they were partners ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead together.